continue to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their gilt rings. Right, the bouncer's gilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
Welcome to another episode 12 of Talking Smart with Pugh and McCart. Joe, there was a lot going on this weekend besides the Old Firm today and Arsenal Man United today as well. But Friday night, Saturday night, there was two shows on Friday night and the massive rematch between Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. on the Saturday night. So there's a lot to talk about. So let's talk about the Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. rematch. Build repeated revenge. Eubank got his revenge. I was there ringside before I give you my thoughts. I want to get your thoughts watching on the TV.
Yeah, I watched on the TV. I thought first round it was really standard kind of nip and tuck round. I thought it was your usual Liam Smith opening. And then from the second round onwards, I just thought it was a clinic from Chris Eubank Jr. I thought his jab was superb. He was going to the body well. Probably the best I've ever seen Chris Eubank Jr. I know there's a lot of talks about a potential injury from Liam Smith and the big weight cut, which I'm sure we'll get onto, but I don't think you can take anything away from Chris Eubank, who'd done exactly what he needed to do. And I was very, very impressed by him.
Yeah, likewise. He obviously went away to Las Vegas and he was a lot made at the press conference and on the public workout and all that Eubank never got up in the morning. He would get up at 3 p.m., train in the late afternoon to evenings. He would never get up to do the morning runs and whatnot. But he said this is the first time in his life he's been getting up in the morning, doing his runs, doing his work, doing his strength work. So it's probably took that devastating loss to Liam back in January to maybe get the kick up the backside he needed to perform and get a big win. Especially when you lose a fight like that against Liam Smith or anybody, as devastating as that, sometimes you don't want a rematch because it was so conclusive. Do you know what I mean? So he obviously got the bit between his teeth and just went with it. And like you say, his jab and everything he done well was executed well just now. And it was just one of them ones that I just think that everything Eubank done was fine. Do you know what I mean? And that's my daughter just walked in closer. Everything that he done was what he needed to do. The injury to Liam Smith, and fair play to Liam at the post-fight press conference, he never wanted to make an excuse. He said, listen, he did mention the weight cut. He said it was too big a weight cut after the injury to fight on this date, but there was talks about Chris Eubank moving on and the fight wouldn't happen, so he had to get fight in September. So there was a big weight cut, and then the rolling of his ankle. He said he's rolled his ankle before in fights and it hasn't been a problem. And he said, listen, no excuses from me. Because I did ask the question. I said, Eubank had the elbow excuse last fight. You've got the ankle excuse. I know you won't use it as an excuse, but there's now a thing there that warrants a trilogy. Do you know what I mean? Will you welcome a trilogy? And he basically said, nah, I'm not using him as excuses. It's Chris's night. He was a better man. So fair play to Liam. But yeah, going on the fight for Liam showed how tough that man is. I think it was the heavy knockdown with an uppercut in the 4th round. And in the 5th round, I think there was maybe 20, 25, a flurry of punches from Chris Eubank. And Liam didn't hold on once. He just kept on rolling high guard, the ropes. And do you know what I mean? And even Chris Eubank paid tribute to Liam to how tough he is and made reference to the fact that a lot of fighters maybe quit with something like that. But Liam wanted to continue. He wanted to keep on fighting, even with his lead foot not working because he rolled his ankle and the heavy knockdown and whatnot. But yeah, it was. The question is, I think, though, Joe, does it want a trilogy right now? Do you want to see a third fight?
Yes, I would be open to seeing a trilogy. I think it was clear that it wasn't Liam Smith's best night, and fantastic for him not to use it as an excuse. But I think we know that there is a better Liam Smith in there. We saw that in January, but we also saw a better Chris Eubank Jr. So I think it'd be nice to see them both on their best nights, because maybe weight was made a big part of it for Chris Eubank in the first fight, because obviously he'd made weight 2 or 3 times in the build up to the Conor Benn fight, which never happened. So it was a big drain on his body, and maybe the way he done the weight was differently. He looked certainly better on the scales on the Friday from where I was standing. So it'd be good to see maybe the best of both of them, maybe early next year. But then again, I wouldn't be opposed to them both moving on, seeing bigger fights. Chris Eubank Jr. in the aftermath on Sky Sports said he wants Golovkin, which I think every middleweight in the world wants Golovkin right now and has done for a very long time. But we don't know what Golovkin's next steps are. The Conor Benn fight's always there. He said after the fight he'd do him in 4. And I think after a performance like that, I think that makes the Ben Eubank fight even bigger. Because he dismantled Liam Smith last night. And Conor Benn, with a bit between his teeth, after everything he's come through, that is pay-per-view for December, isn't it? But I think anywhere they could go from now, I think is exciting. It's really exciting. You've got Kell Brook around ringside last night. You've got big names. We don't know what's happening this kind anywhere really, from the 154 to above 160. It's really exciting. There's so many fights to be made. So would I like to see the trilogy? Yes, but there's also 3, 4, 5 other fights I'd also love to see at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can maybe let the trilogy stew a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that they are polar opposites when it comes to personality. They will never go out for a coffee together, even if they showed each other, even though they did show each other respect last night at the press conference, but they'll never go out for a coffee together. They'll never go out for a pint together or play poker together or whatever it may be. So there is a dislike there, and there will always be a build-up fight week between the two of them because there is that dislike, and there is one each. We're both getting a stoppage. So I'm guessing they'll both want to right that wrong again, or Liam would probably want to correct that wrong this time round as well. So, yeah, it was a great event last night in total as well. I really enjoyed last night. There was good fights with Fraser Clark and Dave Allen and Adam Azine, future star. Florian Marku, first round stoppage. Michaela Mayer getting the win. Looks like she's looking for a Natasha Jonas fight. Young Frankie Stringer, who's managed by Liam Smith, looks absolutely fantastic. Good lightweight coming through. And then obviously Lauren Price gets the win as well. So it was a great card up and down. I probably missed a fight somewhere, I'm sure, but if I have, I apologize. But yeah, I hope Liam has a rest, gets back on the saddle, gets back into camp and gets into another fight. He's still got a lot left after I don't think you can define him on that fight. He's 35 years old, but I think he did hurt his ankle in that one. He didn't. And I've been a fan of Liam, and I've known Liam for a wee while, and I've been watching his fights for a long time. And I think a lot of people sitting ringside was looking at Liam and thinking, that's not Liam in there. I think Tony Bell, you made reference to that, and a few people ringside with me made reference to it as well. So, but that's to take nothing away from Chris Eubank Jr. because he went away, trained his butt off during the training camp out in Las Vegas, and he got the win. So, yeah, it's one each. And then if the trilogy is going to happen, I'll be up for it.
Certainly. And I think it'll be interesting. It'll be a shame to see Liam Smith bow out on that loss last night. He is 35. He's been a professional for, I think, 14, 15 years now. But I think he wants to prove to himself that's not him in there last night. And I want to see him back to his best for at least maybe 1 or 2 more fights at the top level. Yeah,
I agree. But like I said to you, it was a huge weekend for boxing. I was up I was at the weigh-in on Manchester. This is my trip. I've done over 800 miles.
Mileage.
Yeah, 800 close to 800 miles this week. Maybe just over, to be honest. I was Manchester on Tuesday, weigh-in all their fight week. Liam Smith, Chris Eubank weigh-in on Friday. Back up to Glasgow for Ricky Burns and Willie Limond fight. Went home, woke up, had breakfast with the wife and kids, jumped back in the car, went down to Manchester, Smith Eubank, back in the car, back up there. So it's a lot of miles on the car now. I'll probably need to get a new car or a new engine, but one of the two. But like I say, I want to talk about Ricky Burns and Willie Limond because it was a fantastic fight in itself. But there was a fight at the at the Bolton White's Hotel with Lyndon Arthur and Suarez, which I heard was a good fight. I think it was a scare for Lyndon Arthur from what I'm hearing. I've yet to watch it. I'm going to watch it because I've just watched the Old Firm there. So I do want to watch that fight, and I will probably try and find it. But you watched it. Joe, explain it to me.
Yeah, I watched it, a very happy man, just after West Ham beat Luton on Friday night. And I switch over to Channel 5, and I was very, very kind of worried at stages. I think Lyndon was struggling. He was really struggling. And second half of the fight, he was coming back into it, but it had shades of the second Anthony Yard fight when Suarez was applying pressure, and Lyndon Arthur, I don't think he likes it when it's really close pressure, but when he got his distance and when he did get that jab off, because we know how big, how long, how difficult Lyndon Arthur can be, he was chasing the fight. And that's the key thing. He was chasing the fight. And in the end, just that beautiful body shot. And at the time, you didn't even realise it landed because it was probably a 2-second delay until he touched the canvas, Suarez. It was a beautiful body shot, which in the end, as soon as he went down, you knew he was not getting back up from. Suarez was gutted, absolutely gutted. And Lyndon Arthur is now the IBO World Champ. But I would like to just quickly mention Sam Antwi after. It was kind of the fight after, because the way Channel 5 do things. Wow, that's a British Fight of the Year candidate there, right there, against Cartwright. Absolute war, back and forth, which ended, I think, in the 10th round with, I think, just a few seconds to go in a frightening knockout, an absolutely frightening knockout, which kind of takes you back. And the replay wasn't shown for a while. He was out cold. It was really, really bad, but an excellent fight. And now you've got a new British champion in Samuel Antwi, but an excellent night for boxing with that Wasserman card on Channel 5. It was really good entertainment. Yeah, I think my Sunday night's sorted now with after I watched a little bit of football tonight. I think Arsenal playing United, are they? That's correct. Yep. So I'll watch that, and I'm going to go and watch those two fights that you mentioned there, because it looks like I've missed out on some barnstormers there. But I do want to touch on a fight that I went to in Glasgow. Two Scottish legends went to war themselves. Ricky Bunns and Willie Limond. I tell you what, Ricky at 40 is probably the fittest 40-year-old you're ever going to meet in your life. I mean, that is a true. If you want to show young kids how to live the life and how to be a boxer, I think you just look at Ricky Bunn, the way he's lived his life and the way he trains. He is an absolute machine. But Willie Limond is hard as nails. You're never going to meet a harder man. I swear to it right now. I think it was a right hand. It was a 1-2 or whatever. Broke Willie Limond's nose in the second round. And Joe, I mean, this thing was gushing with blood. There was blood all over his chest, all over his shorts. There was that much blood. I think it was in the 6th round. And there was that much blood in the middle of the ring. Both fighters were slipping like it had been raining. That's how much blood was in that ring. And the referee, Victor Laughlin, had to wipe the ring down with a towel. It was absolutely... It's one of them old... when a fighter's all bloody and there's blood all over the opposing fighter as well. And it's just one of them, those old school fights where there's blood in the gloves. It was just everywhere. And it was gruesome. But Willie Limond never stopped. He couldn't breathe for 6 rounds, never stopped. And he kept coming back to his corner and blowing his nose and like, fix my nose. He was angry at himself that his nose had went. But I think the right decision at the end was, because it was a 12-round fight, believe it or not, at the end of the 8th round, was to call it a day, because it was only going to get worse, his breathing and his nose. And I think, it was a great, great fight. And to be fair, some Scottish talent was shown. Martin Crossan, lethal. Matty McHale, lethal. Some great Tyler Jolly, watch out for him. Commonwealth Games bronze medalist. I'm giving up the Scottish. I need to say these guys because we get nothing up here, Scottish boxing. We're quiet. Nobody comes up here and gives us any media coverage or whatnot. We don't get the big fights up here unless Josh Taylor comes to town. It's two old dogs, two old Scottish legends to say we'll fight each other to get a big show up in Scotland. So fair play to the pair of them, man. Like they're my friends, and I've got a lot of time for them, and I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they put on a big show for that, and we managed to bring on, because Willie Limond had 2 of his fighters that he trains on the card, and Ricky Burns had 2 of the fighters that he trains on the card as well. So it was, they put the card on and gave their fighters that normally fight in hotels and small shows the opportunity to fight on a big show. So that alone was amazing to see. And you know what? Made me proud to be Scottish to watch them 2 guys go at it. So I was over the moon.
for the pair of them. And listen, hopefully that's the last fight. And they can go and give their wisdom and their knowledge to the guys that they have in their gym now, the young kids that are going to take over them and hopefully achieve what they achieved in the sport. But yeah, fantastic night. And it was a great night. Oh, great weekend all round for me.
Yeah, it certainly was. I want to give a quick mention to a small hall show I was at yesterday, which was very, very good. Johnny Clark's Top Tier show, and he had a heavyweight on called Michal Nista.
Yeah, is he the one that knocked out
AJ
in
the amateurs?
Yeah,
He beat AJ in the amateurs. He beat Hrgovic in the amateurs. Wallin fought Usyk and Romania. That he weren't getting the support from Romania, so he's based up over here now. A very, very strong guy. Looks very skillful, very talented, and I think he is hunting down Rosansky for the Bridgerweight title before campaigning at the heavyweight title. And he come through a hard fight against a hard Colombian last night, and he is someone really, really to watch out for there.
Yeah, well, listen, I think it was, who was it that told me about him, that he had signed him? I can't quite remember, but he was telling me to watch out. He's a force, and now he's based in the UK, and we know we've got some really, very great up-and-coming heavyweights here in the UK alone. So, yeah, it's exciting times. There's nothing happening next week, Joe, so you're going to have to get your thinking cap on what we can talk about in the boxing world.
I'm sure there'll be news.
I'm sure there will be news. There's always news in this boxing game, and yeah, let's hope it's big news so we can get rattling off and talk about it, because I enjoy my Sundays with you, young man. I really do.
Likewise, mate. Likewise. Hopefully we'll have something to talk about. I think there's a few press conferences next week happening, so hopefully there'll be some talking points, and we'll talk some boxing.
Listen, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, Joe. As I said, it's a pleasure to speak to you, young man. And until next week, we'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon, mate.
Oh, whoa. Before we go, where can they find us, Joe? Where can
they can find us on YouTube at IFL TV, TalkSport with Pugh and McCart, every single audio streaming platform, and I'm sure you'll catch us on some social clips on all your social medias.
Definitely. Listen, Joe, enjoy your Sunday, mate. I'll speak to you soon, young man.
Speak to you soon, mate.
To not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,